The Kinda Funny podcast just had a very special guest appearance in Todd Howard, deep diving into the nitty-gritty of Starfield with a ton of community questions. So here are some of your burning questions on Starfield answered by the man himself. Let's jump right into it. First, Todd goes ahead and explains that of course the general idea is to offer a giant sandbox where players can try everything that comes to mind. For example, being a space pirate, stealing ships and cargo, and being a smuggler. There even is a whole faction for that. But there was a specific moment in the podcast where Todd explains what he thinks sets Starfield apart from many other RPGs, and I genuinely loved his explanation.
You know, there are a lot of open world games now, but I think what really makes ours different is that all these quests are running. It's not like you start a mission and we shut everything down. You can be on dozens of these at once. And that creates a lot of chaos sometimes in our games. We're aware of that, but it also creates these magic moments that we just love and our players love. And I think that's what's really, really special about it.
Todd then goes on and talks about the character creation and how he believes they hit a sweet spot with Starfield, where they give the player just enough to consider right before they start their journey, with all the various background stories and traits you can choose from when you create your alter ego. He says it's really hard not to overwhelm the players with all the possibilities without even knowing what's awaiting them later down the road, while simultaneously giving them enough options so they will have unique experiences. He loves conversations between gamers that are sharing experiences and sharing cool stuff you can do if you go down a certain path. For example, different dialogue options if you choose a specific background story for your character that can lead to very different experiences. And the Kinda Funny podcast was asking the really important questions. For example, one about a very specific activity I know lots of you guys would love to see in basically any RPG. Will there be fishing in the game?
So I put it to you, Todd. Fishing or no fishing?
Well, it depends on your definition of fishing. So is it collecting fish, killing fish? Or is it specific to having
Is there some kind of rod that I can put into a lake and pull out an alien fish and then sell it or cook it or something?
That is one thing we do not have.
Okay. Expansion, though.
As we know since the Starfield Direct, there are more than 1,000 planets, but they are mostly procedurally generated. There are some individual locations that are handcrafted and that are very much built from the ground up by the team because they serve a particular purpose. For example, cities or quest locations. But then again, the vast majority of the surface of a planet is procedurally generated. Then Todd goes on and explains, and I found that one very interesting, that only around 10% of the planets actually have life on them. So a big chunk of the 1,000 plus planets in the solar system are barren. That doesn't mean they aren't interesting or worth your time. They can hold specific resources that you want to collect. And Todd also mentions how the desolation on those barren planets harnesses its own sort of beauty, where you get a sense of scale and meaning in terms of, man, I could be the only one who has ever landed on this rock.
The magnificent desolation. I think there's a certain beauty to landing on those and feeling I'm one of the only people or the only person to ever visit this planet. So it's a difficult design thing. If you add too many things, if it's generating too many abandoned bases or towers or things to find, it starts feeling too gamey in some of those locations. We hope everybody enjoys it for what it is, but it is an exploration different than we've had, where you're landing, you're exploring around that landing spot, and then you're probably going somewhere else.
Planets can hold more than one biome. Some are very diverse and can challenge the player with changing conditions or abrupt weather changes so that they will have to adjust their suit and protection against all the hazardous situations. Of course, there are planets that only hold one biome, as size of the planets obviously varies, but there can be planets with a bunch of different biomes and all of them come with their own unique set of flora and fauna. Fully scanning a planet seems to be very lucrative to the player, as you can sell the data you collected during those scans. And this seems pretty interesting. Not only are you scanning planets for your own needs and resources, but even if a planet isn't interesting for you in particular, you can still get a lot of credits for your efforts in scouting the planet. and I think that's just so cool. And wildlife you encounter will also interact with each other. You can land on a planet and be able to watch predators hunting down their prey. And if you're not careful enough and keep your distance, it can get very dangerous for you too.
We've actually had a problem at times with the predator creatures going and killing all of the more peaceful creatures you're coming across.
Wow.
Why are they all dead? And then you realize there's something dangerous in the area.
Todd then goes ahead and clarifies that there won't be any means of on-ground transportation, so no exploration in some sort of vehicle. If you want to explore, you have to go by foot or use the boost pack. There are special perks for the boost pack, and it is intentionally designed to be fun exploring by foot.
You have skills for the boost pack, so the boost pack almost acts like this vehicle. It's super fun where you can fly through, and then the low gravity planets are just really something special in the game.
I believe the next question Todd answers about companions is a big one for many players. According to Todd, it is possible to play the whole game without any companion. So no robots or AI characters that are helping you along your journey, and there even are specific traits and bonuses that aid you or give you stat boosts if you decide to go fully solo. And playing into the RPG side of the game, companions that are with you may get mad with you depending on your actions and choice of dialogue, and may or may not leave you or turn against you. Todd also clarifies that the only NPCs that you can engage with romantically are the 4 main constellation companions. Those have fully fleshed out romancing questlines for the players. The next topic is a very interesting. They start talking about shipbuilding, upgrades and pirating other ships. Todd then clarifies that building your own ships and customizing them is sort of a late game activity, as it will be very expensive to really get into building your own fleet. You will definitely be able to upgrade certain parts of your ships early on, like buying new blasters or a new warp drive or minor upgrades like that. But really building new ships and fully fleshing them out will be very expensive and resource heavy. Also, if you pirate a ship, you will be able to fly around with it and use it, but if you want to keep it or customize it, the game makes you register the aircraft, which also will cost quite some credits.
And that's for us to keep it from the economy kind of spiraling in those ways. You can fly it around, but if you want to mess with it, you register it, and then you go through that whole loop of upgrading it. I will say that that's a very deep system, and one that we expect for late game. It's not like you start the game and then you're going to get right into shipbuilding. It costs a lot of credits. It is, in a good way, a very complicated system, and one that it was more of a longer term thing in the game.
The same goes for Outposts. You can definitely build bases on every planet you land on, but it will cost you a lot of resources. But if done right, you can definitely use your outposts to gather lots of materials and resources in return. You will even be able to have outposts on 2 different planets establish a transportation route for resources between them, which I think is absolutely awesome.
So you can land on a planet and start building, but you're going to need to really go crazy. You're going to need to develop your character skills. You're going to have to collect those resources, but there is a ton there, and you can even actually somewhat connect them between planets, shuttling cargo between them. So it's a really cool system, but I will say again, like shipbuilding, one that has a lot of depth. It's not really meant as like an early player kind of system. It's meant to be one that you're going to play over a long period of time.
Well, that brings me on to just a quick follow-up on that. So potentially can Outposts be an economy generator for you as well?
Yes, they can.
Absolutely. Fantastic.
Another really great clarification I'm especially excited about is that mods will not only be possible, but Todd and the team is all about fully supporting modders, and I personally can't wait to see what the mod community will come up with.
Yeah, I think Starfield is going to be kind of a modder's paradise. It's part of our DNA here. We've been doing it for over 20 years, and our community around that, because look, we've usually been classically single player. That has been our community, and people are still modding our games and playing them.
But that's it for the interview. I think there was a lot of cool information in there, and I'm really excited about Starfield and what's to come in the next few months up until release and after that. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, and to stay informed on all things Starfield, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell notifications so you won't miss any new videos. I wish you all an awesome day, and I'll catch you in the next one.